Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn sessions every Friday at 12 p.m. EST, New York or Toronto time zone. Welcome, guys. And if you are here the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Aina Eliav, and today I asked ChatGPT to introduce myself because I've done a few webinars recently on the ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence tools. So I asked the chat, what do you know about Aina Eliav? And that's what I got as a response. So based on the search results, Aina Eliav appears to be an experienced Agile coach and business consultant who is currently working for Sun Life in Canada. She's also founder and CEO of Be Agile Tutoring, which offers coaching and training services to help organizations adopt Agile methodologies. Aina is a keynote speaker at PMI and Agile and leadership development conferences and symposiums. And she has authored a book titled It Starts With You, Letter to My Younger Self on How to Get Going in Your Career. Aina is known for her work in Agile transformation and is committed to helping progressive, people-focused organizations work, lead, and satisfy their customers. She has also been recognized as a Forbes Council Agile Coaching Business Coaching member. Okay, here is like too many words. So Forbes Council Coaching member, and is a woman in tech ambassador, Young Career Consultant, and a mentor. Aina has also done a lot of pro bono work in her field. Aina is active on social media such as LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So except of Forbes Council's, everything is correct. So thank you, ChatGPT, for introducing me today. But today's presentation is not about ChatGPT, but you still can watch my previous ones using the links below. Today we are going to talk about Agile testing, a beginner course for Agilists and project managers. So we are not going to talk about how to test or like how to pivot to the career in testing. We are going to help Agilists and project managers to move to the IT field and know what they need to know from the technical side. And today is specifically about testing, because when I pivoted from electrical engineering to IT, I didn't know the processes, and the courses I've been attending were like mostly about Agile mindset, which I already had, so definitely it needed to be polished, but still I had a mindset. Apologize for that. I had a mindset, but I didn't have hard skills. So I didn't know about organizational IT processes and terminologies. And unfortunately, I struggled to find it in courses paid or free. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to have this webinar. And also you guys asked about testing technologies and testing in Agile. And I'm not going to be alone today. I invited my friend and guest speaker of today, Bogdan. And Bogdan, please introduce yourself. Mic is yours.
Okay, thanks, Aina. For me, it's a great honor to be here with you to share my knowledge to our participants. I'm currently broadcasting from Riga, from Latvia. I'm working for Accenture as a project program manager, Scrum Master for almost 3 years. Last 4+ years, I am actively involved in Agile ways of work in different roles, Scrum Master, SME, coaching, etc. In total, I have more than 12 years experience in project management. I have PhD in project and program management. I was working in many different projects in many European countries, etc. So and now I'm, as I said, working for Accenture Baltics.
Thank you, Bogdan. And guys, we have a small group today, so it's not just listening to us, it's also network with other professionals. So feel free to introduce yourself using our chat and share the links on your LinkedIn, and hope you will gain some knowledge today, but not just knowledge, also network with professionals in your field. But let's move on to our topic, Agile testing. And the agenda of today is, first, we will have an intro to software testing, kind of setting up the stage, because we have a diverse audience. Some people just came to learn what Agile is about, what testing is about. Some people are already professionals, so they would need a deeper level of discussion on the topic. So to balance taste, all people today, we will have intro to software testing, talking a bit about Scrum team and testers' responsibility. We describe software development lifecycle process, and then we will go a bit deeper into the topic and have a conversation about testing activities and terms. And at the end, we will move to the case discussion, where Bogdan and I are going to share what is happening while we coach enterprises and we work with teams, and hope you guys will join us in this collaboration. So what is software testing? Like, the simple definition I could find is that software testing is an investigation conducted to provoke stakeholders with information about the quality of the software product or service under the test. And like, talking about enterprises, we normally have a waterfall or agile mindset and framework. So one of the main agile frameworks is Scrum. So normally we have a team, and the team roles are the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the team, which consists like 5-9 members. Sometimes it's bigger, including developers, testers, designers, architects sometimes. So product owner and Scrum Master are two leadership roles, and teams is for development. And why I'm showing you that, because sometimes when you coach the organization or the team, there is ambiguities in roles, like what product owner is responsible, what Scrum Master is responsible, what tester is responsible for. And we are not going to focus today on product owner or Scrum Master, but we will talk about the tester, because sometimes the Scrum Master or Scrum Master is absent, a product owner, you need to solve the problem. When the tester says, for example, I want developers to tell me how to test a unit test. And developers told, it's not our responsibility. So as a Scrum Master, you don't provide the answer, but you facilitate the discussion. And to facilitate the discussion, you need to know some, at least high level of responsibilities of the team, and focusing on the tester's responsibility today. So as a quality assurance person, you active participant in release and sprint planning, you support developers in unit testing. So you support them. But they're not telling you what to do. You provide them with testing view instead of a development view. So it means you are a professional. So you provide developers with your view, not waiting for them to provide you with their opinion. Test user story when completed the last gate to confirm testing completeness, and also executes UAT. So you collaborate with customer and product owner to define acceptance criteria. You develop automation testing, and also as a tester, you provide review and reports results to stakeholders. We are CI/CD implementation. So this is like a high level, which shows us that you're an independent professional. You're not dependent on a Scrum Master or like the developers to tell you what to do. And I see Bogdan's been nodding for the last 2 minutes. So I assume, Bogdan, you have something to add.
Yeah, I always have something to add. And actually, first of all, if you please come back to the previous slide, when we are saying the team, so the developer in new Scrum Guide, let's be clear with terminology. In new Scrum Guide, we have the developers. It was development team, now it's the developers. And when we are saying in Scrum, there are in Scrum team, it's the Scrum Master, product owner, the developers. Yeah, and we are focusing on our Scrum Master's responsibility, how we are working with the team. So we are helping team to be cross-functional, self-organized, and self-responsible. And even those levels of responsibility might be co-shared between developers. And exactly, so we are trying to see on this process from this point of view, that the team is cross-functional, self-organizing, self-responsible, and we are covering one of the responsibility of the developers is testing. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Like if you heard about I-shape and T-shape people, so we are focusing on T-shape, and what it means. If you're like I-shape, it means you are a professional in one field. So for example, if you are a developer and like focusing on Salesforce, so you're a Salesforce professional and you don't know what the Scrum Master is doing, what the tester is doing, or like whoever, you're just like focusing on your like direct responsibilities, and that's it. When we develop T-shaped people, means like even if I'm a Scrum Master, for example, so it might be harder for me to be like a T-shape as a developer if I never learned how to code, but it may be like T-shape for like BSA role or a product owner role. So in case like product owner is absent for a few days, I will be able to jump in. And if you're like a tester, depends what you want. Some people want to be like developers, so they T-shaped to like the development side. The others, the opposite, they want to be leaders, so they T-shaped with Scrum Master. But the point is we need to have like multiple skills in the team and make sure the team is cross-functional. All right, let's move on. So software development life cycle phases, just very briefly. So first of all, this life cycle is a terminology used to explain how software is delivered to a customer in series of steps. And these are like basically steps, which are analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So I think it's clear on the analysis stage when the new product is coming or like new feature is coming. So there's a product owner or project manager, depends where we are, like business analysts and CTO who analyze the feature, analyze what we are going to work on. Then we are adding the design phase where like we kind of prototype. Then it comes to the development where developers code, and also like we have front end, back end developers here, and Bogdan has a story for us about this. So when some piece of code which is able like to be tested is done, so testers jump into this phase and start testing, and there could be like QA engineers, testers, DevOps, sometimes solution architects. So when it's done, like when it means like definition of done, so we deploy, or sometimes our definition of done means that the story is deployed. So the different scenarios here. And when it's deployed, we collected the feedback, so it gets to maintenance where users, testers, support managers actually test, and this is where we find bugs and defects and starting the cycle again. Bogdan, anything from your side?
Actually, yeah, it's a very interesting slide. So the slide shows us the software development life cycle from the kind of waterfall approach, waterfallish approach. Yeah, when you have those clear steps. But I don't know if I may ask our dear participants, can someone maybe jump in and share where is the user stories or features here? How many phases in user story from this, or how many user stories for how many phases, how it's related to each other? Do we have someone brave who can join our conversation? Silent. Okay. So, okay, I can ask and I can reply myself. It's no problem. So, and this is exactly why I saw like Agile instead of waterfall. I like to see the difference. Based on this slide, we can see the core difference between waterfall and Agile ways of working. Because in waterfall, this would be 6 separate phases. Yeah. And it will be, in theory, it might be 6 separate responsible person who is doing those stuff. Yeah, we have analyst, BA, we have designer UI or UI UX or different UI UX. We have developers, we have testers, we have deployment manager, and we have someone who is responsible for maintaining, so it might be 6, 7 different roles. But in agile ways of working, everything must be covered in one user story or feature, in one backlog item, ideally, if we are running the true agile. And this is exactly what we are, as a Scrum Master, Agilists, fighting for, to have everything in one backlog item, in one feature, in one user story. And sometimes it's very difficult, but and exactly why we are having this call to share that we need to be motivated and actually try to build value, to deliver value in one functionality, in one backlog item, features or user stories. And in this case, based on this, the user story, if we pick the user story level, the user story should be analyzed, designed, developed, tested, and deployed every iteration or sprint, depends which framework we are using, and might be released, if product owner says it should be released. So very interesting approach.
Yeah, thank you, Bogdan. And I see a wonderful comment in our chat from Pradipta. So the quote, Scrum Master represents management. Is this statement not opposing the Scrum Guide? Bit Scrum Masters do not participate in feature prioritization or ensuring team's productivity. Rather, Scrum Master ensures that roadblocks are removed and Scrum ceremonies are followed. Please correct if wrong. No, Pradipta, you are totally right. And I'm very happy that you shared it with us. So Scrum Master represents management. So we have many hybrid approaches right now. And I'm not going to argue whether it's good to have a hybrid or not, but Scrum Master represents management, what is happening in hybrid normally. So, and in this case, sometimes a Scrum Master participates in a feature prioritization or do something extra of a pure Scrum Master role. But based on the Scrum Guide, you're absolutely right. Scrum Master is not a manager. Scrum Master is a servant leader. And I emphasize not service leader, servant leader, because it was a comment in the previous org when the HR wasn't onboarded to Agile. So when she saw the presentation regarding Scrum Master role and saw servant leader, she found the word servant offensive. So she proposed to replace it with service, not to offend people on the Scrum role. But if we read Scrum Guide, Scrum Master is a servant leader, and there is nothing offensive of being a servant. And you're totally right. Scrum Masters do not participate in feature prioritization in pure Agile or pure Scrum. And you're totally right that they ensure that roadblocks or dependencies are removed, and the team is cross-functional and self-sufficient, so they follow the ceremonies, and sometimes Scrum Master is not even needed for those ceremonies. All right, let's move on. So this is a bit technically heavy slide for what are testing activities in product development. So just briefly explaining you what testers are doing. So we have business requirements, and after this business requirement collected, testers start writing so first BSA provides with at least high-level stories when developers and testers can start discussing them. So when we have at least a high-level story, a tester can start writing the test stories. And after that, when development and test stories are ready, so developers and testers understand what they need to achieve by this story, they start writing acceptance tests, and then after the acceptance test is going to regression test and operations software. So during the cycle, you might hear some comments during the stand-ups, developers or testers doing unit testing, integration test, and sometimes there is arguments, as I shared before, who is doing unit testing, who is participating, who is a leader during unit testing or integration testing, who is providing the support. So as a Scrum Master or as a leader, you don't have to know the details, but when there are comments like that, you you hear that there is a conflict in the team, so your role is to resolve the conflict, not to tell people who is doing unit testing or who is doing integration test, and not to be scared of these terms if you are new to IT, like I was 10 years ago. I came from engineering background, so when I joined the team and heard some technical terms, I freaked out because I didn't know. So you don't have to freak out if you don't know. You just need to know these terms and need to understand like who is doing what. And if it's unclear, your role is to facilitate the discussion, not to solve the discussion. So yeah, tester is also responsible for testing user stories that cannot be verified by UT and confirm testing completed before demo and release to production. So this is also part of the tester responsibility. I don't want to overload you with that because we are providing course for Agilists, not for testers. And Bogdan, if you have anything to add to this, feel free, or we can just move on. So again, some terminology for you and kind of like breaking out what kind of tests the testers have. So there is like automation or automated tested, which are unit tests, component tests, testing connectivity. You can learn a little bit more about this if you are curious. So at least to know what these terms mean, but no more like knowledge required. Then you might hear about automated and manual tests, which are A/B tests, story tests, user experience tests, prototypes, simulations. So A/B tests meaning basically when you compare two products, story tests, when you have a user story and you need to test this, like user experience, UX design, mostly like prototype simulation, I think it's clear. So you might have manual and automated. So before it was automated and manual, now it's manual and automated, which are exploratory testing, workflows, system integration, usability testing, user acceptance testing, and automated and tools. You might hear terms like performance testing, load testing, security testing, and quality attributes. Bogdan or anyone?
It was a comment from Yahweh's in chat, if I may cover a little bit. I think it's been updated to a Scrum Master being a true leader. You mean probably new Scrum Guide. Yes, yes, it's been updated as a true leader, but becoming to that previous comment regarding the represents management, I absolutely agree what Aina said. And for example, I am not following this approach that Scrum Master is a manager or something like that. It's a completely different role. And in this case also, we as a Scrum Master, we as a humans, yeah, we have to be smart. We have to analyze many different approaches, how to facilitate teams, how to coach them, how to be a leader, how to be maybe teacher, how to be a supporter, etc. So, and in this case, definitely we need to increase our leadership responsibilities as well. And for example, in this case also, there is one of the hottest topics regarding the ChatGPT, and I believe that the ChatGPT doesn't replace the Scrum Master role or those Agilist role, yeah, because it's very creative role, and we have to. It's not possible to follow any instructions to do that. Yeah, we have to build our external competences to make it done, and yeah. So this is the case, and also I like to follow the terminology. Yeah, when we are saying that management or leader, or how to be responsible for something. So each of us has a completely different understanding of those terms. Yeah, and definitely we need to improve ourselves, and we can understand on some terminology completely different meaning. And also I wanted to add one thing that it's from my current project experience. I got a new team. It was half a year ago, a little bit more, 7, 8 months, and they started talking to me as I am their manager. My role was a Scrum Master, and as a manager, like Bogdan, we have updated everything. Yeah, we have this is our update for a daily, etc. And I'm saying, guys, you are you are doing it by you to the team, to yourself, and I really like this formalize the Scrum ceremonies, the purpose of daily, what is the daily, for whom, who is running the daily, etc. And this is exactly our huge responsibility to coach team, that they need to understand that the Scrum Master here to support them, to work with them as a whole team instead of just doing some external part of work.
Yeah, and Bogdan, I can address like the danger sometimes which teams is facing. So like you are the true Scrum Master with Agile mindset, you are a coach in the team of how it's supposed to be in Agile, that you are not their manager, you are like they are like servants leaders, so they don't have to report to you, and they used to this approach. But for example, then you're going to be like gone in a few months, and then they get like another Scrum Master who came from project management side. And I don't say that project management is bad, but some Scrum Masters still have this like legacy of project management mindset, and then they start managing people, and then they turn stand up like as a military reports. And so this person can also like stay for 6 months or so, and then they leave, and then they get like another Scrum Master who is like who has Agile mindset. So for the team, it's very damaging to have different Scrum Masters and different approaches, because it's confusing. So first they're used to the military approach, and then another person comes and says, guys, I'm not your manager. And first like few months they don't realize it because they're already used to military. And then they're using like, oh, it's freedom, it's creativity, it's fun, this is what Agile is. Then this Scrum Master leaves, and another Scrum Master again comes like with military approach. So this is very damaging for the teams, and I am addressing leaders mostly. If you like stick with one approach with one Scrum Master, stick with one Scrum Master for the team. And I can give you an example of my mentee who came from project management experience. So he's a Scrum Master now, and he's leading ceremonies, and he's quite creative. So it seems like everything's fine. But then he shared, the team started questioning Scrum Guide and asking if Scrum Master needs to be during the stand-up. And I told, yes, I need to be here because I need to know what is happening with the team. But I told that, the team is right, you don't have to be there. It's like, you're actually optional. So why they don't want you at the stand-up? This is another question and another problem we need to solve. And then he told, I don't know, I am just there and I am just asking questions nobody asks. And I ask, are you asking questions or are you managing the team? And he is like, it's the same thing. This is where the coaching starts. So great points. And I see some other comments on ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence are nowhere close to replace project program managers or Agile leaders. Yeah, totally agree. I would say eventually they will replace mediocre, like junior project managers, but not creative people with the human touch. Because human touch is like how you truly lead people, not manage people. But we need to move on because we have limited time. So 3 other terms you might hear from your team. So just for your awareness, so they might go through smoke testing, which is an approach which is usually carried out during the initial development stages of the software development lifecycle, to make sure that the core functionalities of a program are working fine without issues. So if you hear like about smoke testing during the stand-up, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to act until they say there is some impediments or like some problem with smoke testing. So here where you jump in and try to understand how you can help to resolve this dependency. Sanity testing, another term you might hear quite often. So sanity testing is performed to check whether a software product is working correctly when a new model of functionality gets implemented to an existing product. And the regression testing, I already use this term. So this means verification testing. And this type of testing is the process of verifying that the software still performs correctly after changes were introduced. So again, coming back, like here we have automated like unit tests initially during the development stage, component tests, testing connectivity, A/B tests, story tests, exploratory testing, performance testing, quality attributes. So these terms you might hear quite often: smoke testing, sanity testing, and regression testing. And now, before we move on to the case, I would like you to be active a little bit and try to answer these questions. And if you are interested in a Scrum Master or PO role, and if you're interested in exams like PSM or like Scrum Alliance or PMI ICP, you might find something similar during the exam. So the first question is, ideally, who will catch and fix a coding error? And we have 4 answers. The customer will spot it into the demo. The developers will find it during unit testing. The reviewer will catch it during pair programming, and the testers will find it in testing. What do you think in Agile is the ideal situation? Who will catch and fix this error?
Please put your, in chat.
Okay, I see B answer. C, anyone else? CB. Okay, so it's definitely not A, the customer will spot it in the demo, because in Agile we'll try to deliver product as soon as possible, but also to deliver it on the best quality and also save some costs, because we think business as well. So if the customer will spot it in the demo, means the product was going through the development side, testing side, and it was deployed, it got to the customer, and then it was returned with an error. So it's quite a long time, and the business loses money during this time, so it's not the best approach. The testers will find it in testing. This could be true, but again, it means it's going to go through the development and testing side before testers are going to find it. So we have B and C, which is like quite close, and normally the developers will find it during unit testing. So B is kind of like a typical situation, but we're talking about the ideal world. In the ideal world, we identifying bugs and errors as soon as possible. So in the ideal world, the reviewer will catch it during pair programming, because pair programming is coming before like unit testing. But like in case you don't have pair programming, you might use answer B like during unit testing. But for the exam, the answer is C, because the correct like way of thinking here is as soon as possible, and as soon as possible is pair programming. Okay, another question. An Agile team is refactoring their code. Why are they doing this? And another 4 answers: to check the unit tests for errors, to make sure the tests are ready before the code is written, to make the code easier to update the maintain, and to get a consistent level of technical debt that will make it easier to forecast velocity. Again, please use the chat for answering.
And while our participants inputting their answers, there's one more question from Pradipta. I will cover it during my talk. I will exactly will share this. What you have asked.
Thank you, Bogdan. Yes, so the question is not forgotten, and I see most answers are B. So again, let's look at number D. To get a consistent level of technical debt that will make it easier to forecast velocity. Honestly, this statement doesn't make sense to me, so I am eliminating it. To check the unit tests for errors, it's quite tricky, because unit tests are meant to check errors. We are not checking unit tests for errors, despite sometimes we also need a second pair of eyes to check the unit tests, but like in general, unit tests are for errors, not to check the unit test. So to make sure the tests are ready before the code is written, and to make the code easier to update the maintain. So Bogdan, what do you think?
Yeah, so if the question about code, so and definitely in answer should be code, yeah, not tests. So we are dealing with the code, and from my point of view, this is answer C.
Yeah, so I see most people got the second one, and I hope it was entertaining. So now I think we are ready to get to the case study. Bogdan, please feel free to share.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Can you?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah, great. So, and yeah, quick introduction from my side. We have prepared a simple Miro board for you, and I will. So the second part of our workshop will be a kind of knowledge sharing to you. So we have collected everything what we have in our daily basis routine as an Agilist, as a Scrum Masters, as a release train engineer, doesn't matter. Yeah, everything, all roles regarding the Agile, and in next few minutes I will cover all of them. And coming back to the question regarding from the Pradipta, if the product being developed is brand new, and there is no baseline or previous version, then how to carry out regression testing? Very good question, and this is exactly why we have this session. So it depends which role do you have, yeah, and whom are you asking? So for me, for example, as your role as a Scrum Master or Agile coach, so definitely this question is not for the Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master should review the workflow and establish practices what team are going to implement during the daily basis routine. And this is exactly why we have this call to share that Scrum Master shouldn't guide which tests the team should perform, how, which techniques, etc. The Scrum Master should support the team, should coach, facilitate, and exactly, as you can see here, so the Scrum Master, so based on what is testing in Agile world, yeah, what is testing in Agile, we need to focus on reviewing the ways of working, the team's ways of working, if there is not clear established ways of working, and coaching team with Agile and development practices. And when Aina at the beginning of this call said that it will be kind of technical workshop today, but I can a little bit correct that we need to make those technical topic very easy in non-technical way to make awareness that we are as a Agilist, we can understand how to perform and whom ask, how to support the whole Scrum team perform in good quality. So regarding this question, so what I would do as a Scrum Master, I would call a meeting with the developers, and I will raise this topic, and developers should share their opinions, how they see that, etc. If we don't have the common opinion, we need to escalate it to the higher level, to the test capability in organization if there exists, etc. So we need to establish discussion regarding that and pick the best solution. So this would how I would perform on it. And regarding our practices, so first of all, within the team, what needed to be discussed? From my point of view, when we are starting working with a team, and if we are taking care about quality, we need always to understand what does it mean actually, the quality. And today we are saying about testing, and we need to ask, does the team understand what does it mean testing? Or testing is a part of quality assurance, or testing as a part of quality control. And based on that, we need to have the common understanding within the team, the difference between quality assurance and quality control. After that, we are working. So, and what is those quality? From my point of view, the quality metrics should be reflected on definition of done or acceptance criteria. Yeah, it depends on ways of working of the team, etc. But in this case also, do we have the definition of done written? Does it reflect the quality metrics? If yes, it's okay. Is it common understanding? Okay. If not, why it's not? Shall we call a meeting with the team or facilitate this meeting with the product owner to meet to describe the definition of done and put everything? So the next comes from the definition of done, how we are measuring quality. Yeah, does it reflect? Is it clear? Is it understandable for everyone? In Scrum Guide or following the Scrum practices, definitely we can understand. We can see what the purpose of definition of done, how it should create it. It might be culture, or it might become from organization. It might be the agreement between the Scrum team and product owner. So it's a completely different topic. Yeah, but the key word here is definition of done, and key point here is how we are measuring quality. Do we have established criteria how to measure the quality? And also the topics, what we can also raise in this aspect are automating testing or manual testing. Yeah, and it will be in a couple of minutes, it will be question from me. We will try to understand which tests can be automated, and again, everything should be communicated within the team. And definitely we need to understand tests. So in which environment we are running our tests. Yeah. Also, it depends. Do we have the new team? Do we start the new project, or it's existing team, existing project? So at least we need to understand that, does team understand which tests running in which environment? Is it clear? Does it meet the metrics of quality, etc., etc.? So if needed, we are raising those topics and communicating to the team. And definitely the main responsibility of the Scrum Master in this case, coaching the team members in self-management, cross-functionality, and self-responsibility, yeah, as well. So
done. I remember my case when I just transited to Scrum Master role. So in the first organization, I came to the team and the environment was like well established and there was like no issues to that. So I even like didn't question like what we do. Developers knew like how to deploy and like what environment use testers as well. So I assumed it like it happened in all organizations. Then I came to the second organization and again, no issues, not even like questions about environment. Third one, again, like no questions. So I assumed like, I don't even like have to ask about it. And even like when you are new and you don't know like IT processes well, so you took it like IT, you've been in the industry for a while, so each company has the environment. And then in my fourth organization, I came there and the developers told the environment is not established yet. We already wrote, I don't know, like tons of code, but we are building the environment. So it took me a month to understand the process, how they're going to build the environment. And then it was my like other like thought, but yes, to have an environment, you need to build it. It needs to appear from somewhere. So for you, if like you sometimes you come to the organization and there is no environment. So don't be surprised like I was.
Yeah, definitely. I see in the chat there is a question about estimation from Vinda. Vinda, to be honest, it's not really a topic for our call, but maybe if you have time, we will maybe cover it at the end. Yeah. So let's move on. And the ways of working, from my point of view, this is the most important topic. Does the team understand the ways of working, how we are performing on the backlog item? So, for example, if we working for example, okay, it depends which frame. First of all, it depends which framework we are using. If we are using Scrum or if we are using Safe, for example, let's pick those the most common, at least from my experience. And actually, in Clear Scrum, we are using just user stories as building for building functionalities and subtasks for tracking. In Scaled Agile framework, in Safe, we might have epic level, we have feature level, we have user story level, we have subtasks level. Yeah, and definitely the first topic when you are joining the team or the project, you should review the ways of working for each backlog item. Is it clear? So it might be different workflow for epic, it might for user story, for feature, for task subtasks, and also it should be communicated to the team. I did it several times for my team members and explain those shared and expanded feature level. What does it mean feature level backlog items? What does it mean user story level backlog items in Scaled Agile framework, etc. So this is very important to ensure that the team aware and we are building in quality. Also we covered epic, feature, user story, tasks, subtasks, and there are two more which reflects to quality are bug backlog item and risk backlog item. Yeah, and if needed, you also as a Scrum Master can facilitate and support the team to establish those ways of working for risk backlog items, how you are tracking risks, how you are performing. If it's safe, you are doing the risk roaming. You can follow PMI, yeah, risk probability impact metrics, etc. There are different techniques how to manage risks, etc. In Safe, we are doing risk roaming during the PI planning. Also have to ensure on that, and this is for risks. If you're working with the bugs, also interesting topic, who is rising the bug backlog item, yeah, in which environment, and this is also reflect on the quality, yeah. If the bugs rise on the lower environments, it means that it's, yeah, we are performing good, it's good metric for quality. If we are identifying and finding bugs in the highest or prod environment, it's not so good metrics for building in quality, etc. So also it's very good to understand how to perform with those backlog items within the team. And definitely to understand the risk backlog items, you as a Scrum Master, you need to know the difference between risks and issues. If our great community here does know what the difference between risks and issues, do we have someone brave who can explain in 2 sentences?
And while we are waiting for a volunteer, I can add sometimes it's not just bug versus risk. Sometimes defects are also added like a separate item. So it becomes defects versus bug, but this is like another level of the conversation. Sometimes you have different Jira boards to track bugs and then to track defects. So normally bugs are tracked like with the main backlog, but for defects, sometimes they are arranged like different boards, which is a deeper topic, probably requests another session.
Yeah, definitely. And also you need to discuss, and it's very important to discuss that the team understand what is the difference between defects backlog items, between risk backlog item, between bug backlog item, etc. And those who need to initiate, who need to coach the team and ensure that they understand the same. Yes, definitely. The risk has some level of probability. Yeah, the issue, it occurs, we already know that it's some issue, some problem occurs, but in risks we don't know. We have, by default, we have 50% of probability, yeah, it comes from this fuzzy logic joke that what is the probability we can meet an elephant outside the street? It's 50%. We might meet or might not. Yeah. And this is exactly, and also it's very important within the team to share those knowledge to guys. Let's see, is it already issue? Let's have it issue. Is it the risks? Okay, let's do risk roaming, and this is the separate procedure. Scrum Master in this case, yeah, it comes from the Scrum Guide, ensuring that all Scrum events take place and positive, productive, and time-boxed. Scrum Master helping the Scrum team focus on creating high-value increments to meet definition of done, yeah? And we already know, we already facilitated this meeting. What does it mean, definition of done? And the Scrum Master is supporting that. And causing the removal of impediments, also taking care and removing impediments toward the Scrum team's progress. Regarding the testing, from the technical point of view, also I can share from my side, very interesting. We might have the different, we might have the separate user stories for front-end developer, for back-end development, yeah. And we need to ensure with whole team that we are focusing on building in quality as well. For example, from my experience for front-end development, we are using the Cypress testing, is test automation practices as scripts. And for back-end development, we are using BDD practices, also automated scripts based on Selenium, Java, REST assured. And also in this case, you need to ensure that the team are able to run the BDD test. For example, I can share from my experience, I have backend team and we don't have tester, clear tester. Yeah, we have just developers and they are definitely they are doing unit testing by themselves and they don't know about BDD tests. And we need to work, we need to raise this topic that guys in future, we are gonna to run BDD tests, so we need to upskill. So you as a developer, you need to grow, you need to be cross-functional, and you will be working with BDD, with running some test automation practices. Yeah. So also this is what you need to, as a Scrum Master, communicate to the team. Unit testing, for example, Sonar Cube or Sonar Cloud.
Bogdan, yeah. Could you elaborate a little bit more on BDD tests in case someone is not familiar with this term?
One more. Could you please repeat?
Could you elaborate a little bit more on BDD tests, what they are, in case someone is not familiar with this term?
So the behavior-driven development, this is the practices from backend side. This is the practices how the test automation engineers are creating scripts, and those scripts are covering the code. The metrics of this is the code coverage, and all code lines should be response in correct way. So, and this is pass or fail. It's behavior-driven development. This is the practice. You don't need to know it. You need just to know that there is a practices for test automation engineer, and raise it to the team, and team will explain you as much as needed. Yes, so just we need to facilitate those discussions. Okay, let's move on. System integration testing. So if you have this case, not really agile case, when you have the separate front end and back end, so you need to go to the system integration test. You need to ensure that all of your solutions are integrated from the front end side and back end side, and you are running the seed, and you are running the user acceptance testing, that your application is working based on the requirements, what has been written earlier. And this is what you need to raise to your team, and what you need to work within your team. Also, you might have this is the example of workflow of the pipeline. So we are building solution, we are running the unit testing, we are running the Cypress testing and mobile testing for mobile version. Yeah. And the Scrum Master should remove impediments, yeah, to the Scrum team's progress. And everything what I just was talking to you with kindly support of Aina was building in quality. If you open the Scaled Agile framework, say, you will see those model how to build in quality. And it was question about BDD, so definitely you can find there, you can read if you're interested, and upskill yourself regarding the building in quality practices. But one more time, what I wanted to say, that whole team, the Scrum team, are responsible for building in quality. So this was my main goal of my long speech. Okay, and we have still 5 minutes, and I want to show you few questions, and let's practice a little bit. So the first question is, when are individuals with testing and quality expertise included in the software development effort? When the implementation of each feature is complete, from the beginning of the sprint, when the product feature is complete, after sprint review.
And while people are answering, there are a few comments on the chat. So Vishwa is saying that risk unaddressed may or can become an issue as well. Yeah, totally agree. Elena saying that risk is an event that can happen with a certain probability, and a problem is a contradiction between how it is and how it should be. Yeah, that's always a problem. And Agile is easy to understand, but hard to implement. There's always a problem. Like we know how it's supposed to be, but it's difficult to implement because it's a very complex approach in implementation. So I see the answer.
Thanks, Aina. And you see how experienced people we have here. So everyone voted for B. Yeah, definitely. The right answer is B. From the beginning and through all sprints, we need to build in quality. I hope this is because of our workshop. They know all right. All of them are know the right answer. The next question: what does code coverage show? What does code coverage show? A ratio of number of tests to lines of code in the system being tested. When a feature is done, the quality of unit tests being written, the absence of defects in code being executed by tests.
And I see a question from Miro: which Scrum knowledge body and methodology do we follow here? From research, I came across 2 different camps. I think you meant Agile methodology, so we are following.
Which Scrum knowledge body? Here we are following the convergence approach of the many different methodologies. So we used some of the Scrum, SAFe. We used continuous CI/CD DevOps practices. We used building quality. So a lot of, and this is exactly why we cannot cover everything, but we as humans, we need to analyze some best practices and implement them depends on the situation. Yes, the right answer is E as well. Yeah, the majority was right. The code being executed by tests. I really like that no one voted for ratio of number tests and to lines. It's not a ratio. Even, yeah, and the E is the most most relevant answer here. And the last very tricky question regarding the test automation practices. Which types of tests can be automated? Performance, smoke, unit integration, functional, exploratory. So please put as much answers as needed. Yeah, it might be, not one answer, definitely. Please mark all which applicable. Okay, Pradipta, ACDE. ACD. Okay. Maybe all of them. Okay. So definitely I see A, I see C, common, AB, smoke. Okay. All except exploratory. Yeah, to be honest, yes, definitely. So all of those tests can be automated except exploratory testing. Because, and why? Because the exploratory testing, this is an approach. I put here from Atlassian the explanation. What does it mean, exploratory testing? This is an approach to software testing that is often described as simultaneous learning, test design, and execution. So this is not a test itself. This is an approach of software testing. And +1 methodology, question about methodology, +1 we are using approach from Atlassian. Yes, thank you so much for your answers. Yeah, and I hope this part was useful for you. Okay, giving the ball to you, Aina.
Thank you, Bogdan, for this presentation and for an interactive way and approach. Thank you guys for spending another or your first Friday lunch or morning or evening with us. And if you are here not the first time, please let me know about our a bit new approach of asking you questions and providing some tests if you like it or not. So if you like it, we will keep using it. If you don't like it, we won't bother you with questions. We will just speak to each other. I hope this session was useful. If you have further questions, feel free to message me directly or Bogdan. You can find us on LinkedIn if you are not following us yet. And again, thank you, Bogdan, for dedicating your Friday evening time. In Riga, it's already evening time. Thank you all and have a great Friday and have a great weekend, and hope to see you next Friday. Next Friday, we are having another session with Dinesh. If you're not first time here, you've met Dinesh before. So we are going to talk about SAFe 6.0 updates, so what's changed in SAFe framework. Thank you, Vishwa. Thank you, Alena.